I want to give a quick update on the significant weather that we are expecting tonight. We've already got a tornado watch in effect for western Pennsylvania. We've already seen a few warnings for this area, but this tornado watch goes until 11 o'clock at night. What is going to be the issue, though, is going to be these gusty winds. We're expecting 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts anywhere in this tan shading, which is where we have that wind advisory in effect through the rest of today. Outside of Beaver Stadium this morning, got mostly clear skies, just a few stray cumulus clouds in the distance, but overall, it's going to be a pretty beautiful day. Great weather for a homecoming parade. If you have any plans this weekend, tomorrow is going to be the best day because Sunday it's looking pretty wet out there. If you zoom out a little bit farther and take a look at one of our computer models, you can see that it is bringing a coastal system. In fact, we could call this a nor'easter, and if it was winter, we'd be talking about snow, but it's going to be way too warm for that. So we're just going to see rain, but we do need that rain with the drought situation building. Thanks, Kaylee. Shouldn't be too many issues, at least in terms of weather-wise, for the buses there on the ground. Can't say anything about the traffic up in the air, though. No delays really throughout many of the major airports. I know O'Hare and Pittsburgh, Philadelphia are some of the big airports that State College flies out of, but no delays expected. Here's actually what I'm looking for. Having a few rainy travel days next week with some East Coast rain Tuesday, Wednesday, and then some Midwest snow by mid to late next week, and then big cool down for the end of the week. But here's a quick map of what I'm expecting. Some rain across the Midwest with some snow, but in the backside, and then across the Northwest too, but no big impacts here for your Thanksgiving travel here in PA. Now back to you guys. Thanks, Amanda. We might see a little bit of rain late tonight, very early tomorrow morning, but should not see any impacts on the football game. Speaking of which, here's a shot outside of Beaver Stadium. Got a lot of clouds in the sky, and that's actually going to put a cap a bit on the temperature as not too much sunlight is going to reach the surface to heat things up. But that's also going to keep us pretty warm overnight tonight, as not much heat will be able to escape into the atmosphere. Hope you enjoyed your snow day yesterday, though if you're headed out this morning, you might want to be a little bit careful because the sidewalks are still have a layer of dusting of snow from a little bit of snow that we saw yesterday, but otherwise roads are mostly clear and everything else is mostly clear. But the big story for the weather this week is the brutally cold weather that is expected really throughout the rest of this week and into next week as well. Here's a live shot outside the Arboretum this morning. You can see all that snowpack from that snow that we saw yesterday. Here's another shot outside of Beaver Stadium with the sunrise coming out of the right-hand side of the screen there. You can see that we got a good amount of snow there too outside of Beaver Stadium with all of that construction going on. So currently sitting at a temperature of 3 degrees this morning, so very cold outside this morning. And check out that feels like too. It feels like minus 12. That's because of all that wind that we are seeing right now, about west wind of about 10 miles an hour, adding to that wind chill effect.
Man, we've had such wet conditions through last week.
Yeah, and I don't want any more rain. Hard to believe we got some rain coming in next week, but that brings us to a weather whiz quiz question, which is, what was the longest stretch of consecutive days with rain in State College? Was it A, 11 days, B, 12 days, C, 13 days, or D, 14 days? And if you guessed D, 14 days, you would be correct. 14 days of rain. I mean, we've had 12 days of rain so far between these 2 weeks. Hard to believe what 2 more days of rain will look like. I'm so glad that we are finally seeing the sunshine. How about you? You got any plans this weekend?
I mean, I was actually planning to go to the beach. There will be some really good waves that are coming in from Hurricane Kirk, but man, I'm just glad that the rain is going to be out of here. We're going to see sunnier conditions, and it's going to be great for the UCLA game that's coming up.
Yeah, the one good thing about the rain, though, is that we desperately need it. Hope we'll get rid of those drought conditions, too. Happy Wednesday, Penn State. Good job bearing the cold yesterday. It was quite chilly yesterday. Saw highs only in the upper 20s, about 10 degrees below average for this time of year. We'll actually be about 20 degrees warmer today with a high of 44 and low of 28. Then we'll cool things off a little bit tomorrow with a few snow showers possible. Then we'll start warming things back up again on Friday. And on Venture and Saturday, we'll see highs in the 50s once again. Have a great day, Penn State. Welcome to the weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed this nice weather that we had in Western PA, while Eastern PA has still been a little gloomy thanks to some backdoor cold fronts, but that's going to start to change this weekend. We're starting off with the bang with the risk of severe weather. We got a slight risk of the area shade in yellow, marginal risk for the area shade in dark green, that's level 1 out of 5, and level 2 out of 5, and then the area shade in light green, that's just a general risk for thunderstorms as the energy gets less and less as it go farther towards the east because of the mountains taking away the energy. The main risk would be strong damaging winds over 60 miles an hour, especially in the western areas where the yellow shaded is the highest risk of damaging winds. Very low risk for large hail, but it is non-zero, so just be on the lookout. But again, shouldn't be too many impacts from that just because the environment is not conducive for large hail. And last but not least, we do have the risk for a few tornadoes, especially in western PA where that brown area is where they're going to see the highest risk for that. Still low, but it's still there, with those dash lines seeing the chance for strong tornadoes, possibly EF2 in intensity. Here is a look at the future radar tomorrow. A few cells will develop in western PA before they quickly join into a line which will move across the state, getting weaker the farther east it goes, but still be on the lookout for a few strong storms, especially if you are in western PA. Happy Monday, State College. It's been a little chilly these past few weeks, but the warm-up is finally here. We're expecting temperatures maybe to reach 50 tomorrow and Wednesday, which will be about 10 degrees above average. But to start things off with a live shot outside of the Arboretum, you can still see we still have a little bit of a snowpack there in the distance, but a lot of meltings going on. That's going to continue to be the case this week, especially with temperatures well above freezing. Hopefully by the end of this week, all of the snow will be finally gone, though we might see a chance for some more snow this weekend, though it's very uncertain, and I probably don't think it's really going to be snow, but that's still ways out in the future. Currently sitting at a temperature of 39 degrees, feels like 34. It is a little bit breezy out there, and I have noticed it. I'm already in this morning and this afternoon. Here's what I'm watching, though. Temperatures will be about 10 up to 15 degrees above average throughout the middle half of this week, and then cooling things down towards the end of this week, close to the average, along with some rain, though, that we are watching towards the middle of this week that we desperately need here in Pennsylvania. Across the Commonwealth, though, for 39 in State College, 45 in Johnstown, 41 in Pittsburgh, 45 in Erie, and Philadelphia, sitting actually cooler than Pittsburgh at 40 degrees. Like I mentioned, it is a little breezy out there, so you might notice it on your way walking outside this afternoon and evening. Current satellite radar, though, you can see we have a big blanket of stratus clouds out there across Pennsylvania. Just a normal winter day here in State College and throughout the surrounding regions, and that will pretty much be the case throughout the rest of this week as we put things into motion. You can see that layer of cloud still sticks around, though we will see a few sprinkles and rain showers across the northern tier of the Commonwealth this evening and tomorrow, but then the big rain comes later on Tuesday night and into Wednesday. You can see it making its way out towards the west. We will see a few showers across the Commonwealth, especially across the northern tier and the south on Wednesday, before things then dry back up on Thursday, and with the clouds still persisting throughout the day on Thursday. Overall, though, this rain shouldn't be too heavy, though, maybe about less than 1/10 of an inch across most of the area, to maybe 1/4 of an inch in some localized areas, but not expecting too much rain out of this. Then we are tracking another system for Friday. Might see some mixed precipitation across the northeast with a few snow showers then possible across the northwest, but again, that's a little later in the forecast, so things can and probably will change. But we are expecting temperatures, though, to get down towards average, which here in State College is about 37 degrees for tomorrow, Tuesday, February 17th. And that will pretty much where we'll be this weekend. So not as cold as where we've been, but it will be a little cooler compared to where we will be this week. And as we go back into tonight, though, we're forecasting a low of 34 degrees, so about 2 degrees above freezing. Cloudy skies continue, a little breezy, but not too bad out there. Shouldn't be too much of a wind chill tonight. Tomorrow, though, will really warm things up with a high of 50 degrees, with mostly cloudy skies, a little breezy, and a chance for an isolated shower or two. But then on that 7-day forecast, look at those temperatures for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Close to in the mid-40s to close to 50, especially for Tuesday. Then we're watching for a few showers on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, things cool back down close to average, especially Monday will actually be about 6 degrees below average on Monday with cloudy skies once again. When you hear AI, you might think of ChatGPT, Google's Gemini, Meta's Llama 3, or even your Snapchat AI friend. But what does AI have to do with forecasting the weather? One research professor at the Department of Meteorology at Penn State is exploring new ideas to use AI in forecasting the weather.
Computers are essential for weather forecasting. We learned about 100 years ago how to take the laws of physics and write them in terms of math equations.
This concept was first idealized by Lewis Fry Richardson, an English mathematician and physicist. Richardson was the first person to use mathematical equations to try predicting the weather in the early 1900s. Before then, meteorologists relied on a method called analog forecasting, which involved identifying similar weather conditions from the past and projecting them forward. Richardson's work took him over 6 weeks to manually compute a forecast that was just 6 hours ahead, using complex math equations.
But in order to solve those math equations fast enough that we can get a weather forecast, we need to use computers. And we've used some of the fastest computers in the world for weather prediction over about the past 70 years ago to help weather forecasting.
Now, researchers are applying these foundational techniques to newer technologies.
But more recently, AI has been used to simulate the entire numerical weather prediction model output, meaning that AI is used to simulate going directly from the initial conditions to a forecast, almost replacing the numerical weather prediction model with physics, through instead learning that physics from historical examples.
So what does AI do that is different from computer models that we use right now? It does not solve complex math equations, but goes back to analog forecasting.
Yes, in supervised learning, a computer looks at past inputs, for example, satellite images, and past outputs, for example, whether that became a thunderstorm or not, and learns to identify which of those images map to those outputs, whether yes thunderstorm or no thunderstorm. Similar to how you might have an algorithm look at a photo and identify whether it contains a cat or a dog.
Graybush recently received a grant from the National Science Foundation to advance research on AI in numerical weather prediction. His focus? Training AI to recognize and understand clouds.
So we, in recent times, have developed an AI system that looks at satellite images of clouds and determines which of those clouds might develop into a thunderstorm. So the NSF grant is to further develop this type of technology, to use additional input data sets, perhaps also from models, as well as refine methodologies to create more accurate forecasts, to quantify the uncertainty of those forecasts, as well as to look at why the algorithm is making the choices that it does, and to try to explain the AI.
Graybush also researches weather on Mars. Despite the red planet being more than 140 million miles from the Earth, its weather shares some surprising similarities with ours.
Right, so in some ways you have some commonalities. Mars and Earth both have seasons. They both have traveling weather systems, so you have highs and lows, cold fronts on Mars and Earth. Some major differences is Mars has a very thin atmosphere, and there's a very strong day-to-night contrast in temperature, as well as Mars has, as you mentioned, has these dust storms that some of them are regional dust storms that last for a few days.
Oh, wow.
Others are global dust storms that can actually last for weeks to months and cover the entire planet in a layer of dust.
Interestingly, we gather weather data from Mars using techniques similar to those used on Earth.
So satellites from space provide us a global view, as well as some in situ information from our rovers and landers on the surface of Mars.
While the AI boom hasn't yet reached Mars, Graybush suggests that one day we might apply our Earth-based AI research to Martian weather.
Machine learning might be applied to the Mars weather in the future. One area that could be interesting is interpreting Mars satellite data and getting a better sense of understanding and measuring dust storms from the satellite imagery, and perhaps using that for prediction.
With advancements like these, AI is poised to revolutionize meteorology, offering more accurate and timely weather forecasts. As researchers in the Department of Meteorology and Atmospheric Science here at Penn State continue to push the boundaries of what's possible, we may not only enhance our understanding of the Earth's weather, but also unlock the secrets of weather patterns on other planets. For Weather or Not, I'm student meteorologist Daniel Weaver.